Hey guys, I'm X92 and welcome back to another tryout. Beginning of Season 3, real excited. Hope you like the new art. Elden Ring! Elden Ring came out. This wasn't what I initially had scheduled, but I hadn't been playing the things that I scheduled, so I hadn't played them. So, since my girlfriend had purchased Elden Ring and I had played a bit of it, as of now, it's been about like 17 and a half hours that I've put into the game, but I've been doing all sorts of stuff. I've only really fought the first required boss, so there's a lot of game here. Since we have it, I figure I've played a bunch of it, I might as well just record some and make the video about that, even though I've played a bit more than I typically play for one of these episodes. And as a little bit of a disclaimer, I'm gonna try and keep the footage to all areas you can access pre-fighting the first boss, which seems to be quite a lot, but it's pretty much just like the starting area and then a little bit of a couple other areas that you can get to from the starting area. It's just sort of in the big open sections. So I'm trying not to put too many spoiler in here for anything, but you know, if you just think what things look like is a spoiler, close your eyes, I don't know. Anyway, I'll do a little background for me. I have played a little bit of Dark Souls 1 and a little bit of Bloodborne, not very much. And I've watched a full playthrough, at least one full playthrough of Bloodborne at some point. And I've watched my girlfriend play through most of Bloodborne and most of the Demon Souls remake. And then as for other games in the sort of genre that I've played, I have been slowly making my way through the Surge. And vaguely related, Salt and Sanctuary is very inspired by this sort of Dark Souls. I don't know if the punishing action RPG. People call it the Souls-like, but I feel like we need another name. Elden Ring is kind of more of the same, but it's also kind of a bit different. It's not just more of the same. It's this culmination of basically all of the games in this sort of genre that FromSoftware has made since Demon Souls. So it's Demon Souls, the Dark Souls, the Bloodborne, and Sekiro. It doesn't pull a lot of the combat stuff from Bloodborne, at least from what I've seen. Bloodborne has a different combat loop where you're rewarded for being a bit more aggressive, whereas the other, like Dark Souls, is a bit more like calculated and a bit more, you know, slow. So it's still more in the realms of the combat loop of other not Bloodborne games, but still, like, it's taken a lot from all of those games and put it into one thing. The biggest difference here is obviously the now open world thing, whereas in previous games, it was sort of, at least after Demon Souls anyway, you had this whole big world that you would walk through, and it's all, like, interconnected, but Elden Ring is more, like, it has a lot of these big open spaces with these smaller, more traditionally designed dungeons. I think on the Fextra Life wiki they're referred to as legacy dungeons within it. So you have a lot of open space and opportunity and option in addition to the more traditional style of more direct, closed quarter spaces. I think this openness leads to the game being a bit more beginner friendly, where you're not as funneled down like a certain path or a certain handful of paths to get stronger or whatever. You're not like, I can either go here, I can go here, and there's one path to get to either of those places. You have this sort of open space which gives you more opportunity and option. The biggest example of this is right after you come out of the starting area, once you get right into the lanes between, there's this big dude on a horse called the Tree Sentinel. He's like right there. And if you've played a video game, you're like, an enemy. I guess I'll go kill the enemy. That enemy, you're probably not going to kill it. It's probably going to kill you, and you're just going to be bashing your head against this wall. But what you might soon realize is you can just kind of walk around him and come back later. And that's sort of the philosophy of a lot of the game. It seems like, yeah, this part might be too hard. You know, you might have a lot of trouble with the first boss. There are so many other places you can go to do anything else before fighting that first boss. There are so many, like, things you can do instead of progressing the main story to get stronger, to get better equipment, or whatever. So you have options of, do you want to put in the time? Do you want to put in the time to get stronger, to get better equipment, you know? Or do you want to, like, mash your head against this wall until you've skill checked your way out of the situation? And you get this option a lot more than it seems that prior FromSoftware games, punishing action RPGs, whatever I'm calling them, other ones tend to have. You just have the ability to just do something else. Because, you know, this might progress the story, but, like, there are other stories in this world to experience. You know, all of the NPC quests, all of these just other things that you can just go off and do instead. And a lot of this is available before the first boss. I believe you can even get to the area after that, like, first required area that you have to get through the boss without fighting that boss, if you really want to, if you really try. So, like, there's a lot of leeway for players who put more thought, or just, you know, don't necessarily have the skill yet. They can devote it to stats instead. Because at the end of the day, in the way that I see it, is that these games, the Souls games, or whatever you want to call them, they're not so much hard as they punish your mistakes kind of severely. And that might lead to it being hard, but we talk up the difficulty in this certain way that I think makes it sound like something it's not. The game punishes you for your mistakes, unless, like, you've put in the time to make it so you have enough health that the punishment isn't as severe, or whatever. There are ways to mitigate the strength of the punishment, or you can just become skilled enough that you don't make the mistakes. And while that was true in previous games, I think that's even more true now, that you have a bit more option of how you go about things. So the build that I went through, in the lead up to this game, was like, I kind of want to do like a sorcerer summoner sort of thing. I hadn't really looked into how anything worked yet. So I was like, I want to be able to, they have a system with the spirit ashes where you can summon enemies, basically, different enemy types, to be like, to fight for you. And, you know, you have to find them and whatever. But I was like, I'll use that, and I'll be like a sorcerer, and I'll just spawn in, you know, thralls and attack from a distance. That's my intended build here. And so the class I went with was astrologer, because that seemed like the best for my situation. However, I ran into this issue where the Spirit Ashes system is a bit more limiting than I expected, where, like, you can summon one, and they cost magic to summon. You summon them, but you can only summon one squad or one thing. Like, there's the ones that I have are the spirit jellyfish. I have, like, some skeletons, some wolves, like a group of skeletons, like 2 skeletons and a group of wolves. You can only summon one at a time. And it seems like if you're doing co-op summons, you can't use them in addition to co-op, but you can use them in addition to the NPC summons. But it's still sort of like, okay, that sort of puts a damper on what I wanted to do here a little bit. It's not the worst thing here, but, like, it is just a little bit disappointing that I can't do exactly what I wanted, and maybe I should have, instead of doing this sort of sorcerer summoner build, I should have gone with more like a ranger, like a thief ranger sort of thing instead. It seems like bows have more distance that you can attack from than magic does, at least the magic that I've been using so far. So maybe I should have done that instead, but I'm still running with my sorcerer summoner sort of thing as best as I can. But so far, I'm having a pretty good time. I don't see myself quitting this like I've quit Dark Souls and probably Bloodborne at this point. I'll probably just keep going through it. I am having a pretty good time with it because I'd say in part of it's because I have this sort of craving for these fantasy open worlds I have ever since I played Skyrim. I just want to play Skyrim again a lot of the time, but like things like Breath of the Wild have helped mitigate this, you know, and this is also helping because I finished Breath of the Wild pretty thoroughly. So Elden Ring is helping me sate my desire for an open world fantasy RPG, and so I'll probably just keep playing it when my girlfriend isn't playing it, because she's the one who wanted the game, so, you know, she gets first dibs since it's hers. I just play it when she's not playing. But yeah, having a great time with it. And the only real downside that there's been so far is that since this game is so new, the information on the Fextra Life Wiki either just doesn't exist or is a bit outdated because it was based on the connection test thing, the online test that they did, and some of that stuff I assume has changed. So there's some information that I've run into on the Fextra Life Wiki that just isn't there yet or seemingly isn't accurate anymore. And so, you know, if you aren't afraid of, you know, learning things yourself a bit, now's the time to jump into Elden Ring. But if you are afraid of learning things yourself when you would like to have a walkthrough of some kind to lean back on, or some sort of out-of-game information, you might want to wait a little longer until they've gotten the Fextra Life Wiki into a more complete state. But the game does give you a lot more information directly than previous FromSoftware, Soulsborne, punishing action RPG games have done. And it saves them in your inventory. So if there's a tutorial message that comes up and you want to return to it, it's in your inventory. Check that out. I like the way that they have hints and stuff like that you can buy from the vendors, and they just go in this one place in your inventory so you can come back to them. That's a really good way to give the player information that this series, these games don't tend to do. So yeah. Game Passes try out, I like quite a bit. So that's that. Going forward with Season 3 of Tryouts, I'd like to incorporate clips of me from me playing the game, like with live commentary. Since I wasn't planning that far ahead on this being the tryout, I didn't do that because I just needed to pick up some footage so that I could have something for the video. Going forward, I'm going to try to do that and see how that works out, so let me know what you think about that, and when I actually get around to doing it for the next week, hopefully, let me know what you think about it once it's actually in play. Anyway, that's enough for this video. If you go in the description, you find links to all my places: Twitter, Patreon, Bandcamp, Reddit, the Discord server. Go down there, click the links, go to the places, follow whatever you do there. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. If you like this, you want to keep with this and other shows, hit the subscribe button. I do a variety of shows, do at least 2 videos a week. Leave a comment. Elden Ring! Elden Ring? Elden Ring. Leave a comment below. Share the video. Do the things. And anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!